Epic's mobile game store is now live on Android and iOS in the EU. It's featuring 3 flagship titles: Fortnite, Rocket League Sideswipe, and the all-new Fall Guys for mobile. It's not super easy to install on iOS, and I think it's like comically so. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a 90-second explainer video of Epic explaining to you how to install a game on the Epic Store on iOS. And in real time, I am also going to try and follow along. So let's jump right in.
Hey there. You want to play Fortnite, Rocket League Sideswipe, and Fall Guys on your iPhone?
I do.
In the European Union, you can get these games through the Epic Game Store on iOS. There are a lot of steps, and we're here to help.
Off to a great start.
First, open up Safari on your iPhone and head to epic.download.
Great.
Push the button. You'll see a pop-up letting you know your iPhone isn't set up to install new marketplaces from the web yet. To fix this, we need to head to the Settings app.
Okay, so
Press OK,
get out of here.
then
Go
open
to
up Settings.
Got it.
You should see a banner that says Allow Marketplace from Epic Games.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay.
Tap that, choose Allow, and then head back to your browser.
All right,
I'm tapped out, man. I got lost like 3 cents ago. All right.
You'll get another iOS pop-up asking if you want to install the Epic Games Store.
Okay, got
Tap
it.
Install App Marketplace. Once that's done, the Epic Games Store app will be on your iPhone.
There, we did it, guys. We did it. Oh, mostly.
Select a game, and then install it just like you do with any other app store. With one last iOS pop-up for confirmation.
Just one more initial. Just for good measure.
We did it. You know these were a lot of steps. Epic is working with regulators around the world to get the Epic Store available on iOS and other locations.
Okay, that's enough. That is just hilarious. It's like a 15.
You know it's seamless onboarding if your guide has to say, phew, partway through it.
Well, and it's hilarious. Like, this reminds me of the explainer videos we make for our clients about how they get crypto.
Xander, it's almost like Apple didn't want to make this easy for them.
Yeah, it's almost like maliciously bad. So, Epic Games has released their new mobile game suite on alternate app stores as well, including Alt Store Pal, Aptoide iOS, and One Store on Android. And they're also, as part of this rollout on the Epic Game Store, as well as the alternate game stores, they'll be removing their existing games that are not Fortnite from the existing app stores as well. They're basically saying, okay, if you want to play an Epic game, you have to go to an alternate app store. I think this is a big victory for Epic overall, but it's been pretty expensive. I mean, they finally got the thing that they've been searching for, but they said publicly they've spent around hundreds of millions of dollars in court cases, and they've projected to have lost around $1 billion in revenue for getting Fortnite blocked 4 years ago, which, you know, there's a very, very small handful of developers who can actually afford to do that. As part of this rollout process, the Epic Game Store GM, Steve Allison, said he reached out to 150 of the world's top mobile developers, and, quote, almost all of them said the 50-cent core technology fee Apple would impose on downloads over 1 million per year makes it too expensive. So kind of like imagine that for a second. You have one of the biggest developers with the biggest alternate app store reaching out to 250 of the other potential developers on the platform, and all of them, more or less, are saying, we just can't afford this. Now, we might say that Apple may be following the letter of the law in the EU, but they are certainly not following the spirit of it.
Can you explain the download fee?
Yeah, so we covered this on the podcast quite some time ago. And basically what this is an alternative payment structure that Apple has imposed on alternate app stores. A reminder, you can give a 30% fee on all transactions like we did traditionally, or you have an alternate payment schema, which breaks down a couple of different ways because it depends on who's doing the payment processing, and there's a bunch of different levers. But one of the key things is if you decide to use alternate payment processing, a 50-cent install fee on every install after the first 1 million per year. So it's just like this prohibitively high install value associated with installing any apps on alternative app stores. And this is obviously designed to just block people from using alternative app stores.
And just to clarify, Xander, so that's the route if your third-party store is distributed through the App Store.
Right, if you install your app through a third-party app store, exactly, and decide not to go with Apple. They call this a core technology fee. Basically, it's an IP fee associated with using their SDKs and installing their infrastructure. So to be clear, on the Epic Store right now, there's basically no games. So it's a handful of first-party games. And that's my understanding. I can't actually install it because during that demo, I tried to install it and just said, you're not in the EU, you're blocked, despite the fact that I had a VPN into the EU to give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of games where like their global LTV is under 50 cents. Like there's whole categories of games. So if you're going to say it's going to be 50 cents per download, like that's brutal. That's on top of any other acquisition and development cost.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy and super high. And Epic did a Q&A just recently with a bunch of press. I have a really, really interesting quote that I really, really liked from them, and I want to just read it. This is what Tim Sweeney said to the press last week. It's important to realize the state of dysfunction that exists in the mobile games business as a result of Apple's taxes. No game developers, other than few companies for years at the apex of their absolute histories of hits, no developer makes a 30% profit margin. So when Apple and Google take 30% fees off the top, the effect is that developers have to raise their prices to cover their fees. This raising prices reduces demand. The entire industry is in a suppressed state compared to what it would be if there were free and open competition among stores. Developers would make a lot more money. Developers would actually lower their prices because profit maximizing price is actually quite a bit lower than the current price. So what he's basically saying is, by Apple taking such a high fee, you're suppressing the overall value of the games ecosystem overall. And it's kind of hard to know what the alternative case is, but like intuitively, that makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we've been covering this for a while. Apple continues to be a bad faith actor in this area. Tim Sweeney and Epic continue to be Epic trolls, which is kind of fun to watch from the sidelines. What I'm now thinking about is, now that we're at this stage, and technically after jumping through 20 hoops, we can have third-party stores in the EU, will this precedent mean that it's just a matter of time before this becomes the norm globally? What do you think there, Xander?
I mean, I think that Apple, and to a lesser extent Google, have really indicated that they are hell-bent on defending their monopoly to the maximum extent that they possibly can. I mean, Google just found liable for being a monopolistic business in an adjacent segment in search. So it's not crazy to imagine these guys are going to do whatever they can to maintain the fortress for as long as they can. And I do think that long-term, we will break through. These companies are not going to get lying down. There's a reason why they're a few of the most profitable companies in the world, and it's because they're entrenching and defending their monopoly. One final quote I'll pull from Steve Allison, the VP of Epic Game Store, and during the same Q&A, he was talking about the competitive dynamics in the marketplace on PC and how it is different from mobile. So what he said is, Epic Game Store has become a major competitor to Valve and Steam. And he said, during this period, Valve and Steam has actually grown 100% since we entered the market. And we've scaled up to 75 million monthly active users and 1 billion of revenue at the same time. And so what he's hypothesizing in this is that the competitive nature of having there being competition and having lower price points for developers to access distribution actually grows the marketplace overall. Now, there are other things that are probably happening to supplement why these numbers are so explosive, but it's a pretty interesting take, and one that I personally love to, it's a confirmation bias for me, and so I'm very, very happy to take his point and say, oh, that's some great data that backs it up.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. As always, the pod is brought to you by our team at Uptick. Here at Uptick, we help games grow. We do all the various work and provide all the analytics and software to scale your games more profitably. So if you're scaling a cool game, reach us on our website. It's uptick.com, UPPTIC.com.
Talk soon.